impacted the women's movement, or what kind of involvement in the women's movement or awareness of it did you have?
I think for me, it was more the emphasis on ethnicity, as because if you look at the issue of cultural competence and the shift and the development in the field from cultural sensitivity to in which it said that people need to be sensitive to people from other cultures. The problem and the evolution in the field was that you can be sensitive, but that didn't mean that you necessarily were competent. And that's how the field moved to cultural competence. And that was really the focus of a lot of the work that I was doing, finding that certain things didn't work within therapy with ethnic minority clients if we didn't pay attention to those kinds of things. The women's movements then came about and became stronger, but many of the ethnic minority women, including myself, didn't initially embrace that as as being part of the movement, because our emphasis and our identity lied much more with the ethnicity part than the gender part, given the state of things. I think as it, as it evolved, however, and we became more involved with being asked to look at, the women's issues and gender issues, we then felt the need to incorporate it with a difference that, no, it's not the same for myself or other ethnic minority women as it is for someone who's a white woman. You're dealing with somewhat different issues, and the importance of dealing with those different issues are critical. So it's not simply that we are all women, but we need to recognize, yes, we're women together, but there are some differences in our experience in terms of how we would perceive and all. And I think it's with that inclusiveness or that recognition that's inherent in a lot of feminist principles that then enables us to have that dialogue to say, yes, it is a part of us, but you can't expect us to think and feel and behave in exactly the same way. And I think that's what's evolved, in which we now then talk more about the intersection between gender, and ethnicity. And that's how I became more involved in it. But again, when I go back to looking at some of the work then I did with the book that I wrote, that I did a lot of research on looking at gender within China and how that evolved, and was surprised actually to find that essentially elements and thought, not unlike the women's movement in the U.S., had actually occurred even earlier in China in terms of the kind of thinking, the kind of rebellion about the status quo in terms of male-dominated society within China. So that the common misperception that ethnic minority women, are not, advanced enough in their thinking about women's issues is actually not true. And if we look at what happened in, as I said, in China, that you see evidence as early as 1929, where there was a very strong women's movement within China that actually paralleled or exceeded some of the thinking that occurred in the U.S.